He's the former president and publisher of the Sun Herald, and now he's on the radio. Welcome to Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome to Coast Vue, the show that continues to celebrate the men and women who are making coastal Mississippi such a great place to live, work, and play. We're not in the coastal Mississippi studio today. We're back up at my place in the Mississippi Delta. It's a great time of the year to sort of take in this state. No matter where you go, it could be the rural areas of Mississippi or along the coast. You just feel the Christmas spirit so much around. Hey, Dan, come on in for just a second. Dan is sitting in for Kyle today, and I just wanted to say good morning. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. I don't know if you noticed anything different, but colored the beard a little bit. Got a little dark shadow there. I was old. good for you. Instead of going to the hairdresser, she goes, "Can you do the hair thing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I can do the hair thing." So I do her hair. She'd kill me if I told you, right? But there was some leftover, and I'm like, "There's a lot of gray. Let me try to patch this up a little bit. And if it looks bad, I'll wear a mask, right?"
Yeah. I don't see you without your mask very often, actually, which is a good thing. I mean, you've been really good at leading by example. It is Christmas week, and it's kind of a magical time of the year, isn't it?
It really is. We got our lights up, our tree up. It's finally smelling like pine in the house. And if your tree doesn't smell like that pine tree you want it to smell like, you can just go to the store and get some of those pine Christmas tree air fresheners and hang it on the back. Perfect fix.
I love that. I finally gave in last year and we got an artificial tree, finally. But man, it's actually, Ann does a great job. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. I do miss the smell though. I'll have to get some of those.
Yeah, we had an artificial tree up last year, and for some reason it was such a hassle to put up. I didn't take it down for a year, and I didn't realize how many people thought I was a weirdo when they would come into the house in the summer and like, "What's your Christmas tree doing?" It was very festive all year long. It made me happy every day I came home.
What I love about this time of year is that, especially with the pandemic going on, that you feel the generosity in the people around you,
Oh, yeah.
And even in this pandemic moment, I think there's something about Christmas, even in this pandemic, or maybe because of the pandemic, that people are wanting to reflect more and wanting to be more thankful and to be surrounded by family and friends to the extent that they can in a safe situation. But it's Christmas week, and we're gonna celebrate it here this week as well, right, buddy?
Absolutely, it's awesome.
Well, you know what? We've been talking a little bit about remote work. We had a couple of guests on this week, and we talked about it. And there was a great story in Bloomberg this morning, and it said the work from home boom is here to stay. But it says, get ready for some pay cuts. And what's interesting, and what the company, I didn't think about this before, but if you worked in LA or New Orleans, New York, the cost of living is really high, which is one of the reasons why I think there's an opportunity for Mississippi in this particular realm. But what they're going to be doing is, if you don't go to LA anymore, you don't go to New York anymore, and you still work for those companies, but you're going to work from Mississippi, what they're going to do is they're going to do what's called localize your pay. In other words, make it based on the cost of living for wherever you're living, which, that's somewhat to be expected, actually. But I didn't think of that. That's an interesting, shift on the overall situation. Have you thought much about that?
I try to, I go minute by minute,
I hear you. What's interesting is that in the tech industry, there's a high concentration of employees that are able to work remotely. And so Facebook and Microsoft and others have already made decisions that said that people are going to be working remotely indefinitely. So
yeah.
As all our guests have said who are familiar with the subject, they say, man, there's no turning back. There's going to be a big shift in the way we do business. But anyway, thanks, Dan. I appreciate what you're doing.
Hey, appreciate it.
Okay, buddy. Hey, listen, I often share positive thoughts from my dear friend, Stacy Waldrop. She's a nurse and a cancer survivor. So she, it comes from the heart. When she posts something, she understands to the depth of her soul what she's talking about. And one today really applies so well to today's guest. And it says this: Only when normal things are not normal anymore do we realize how special normal things are. I mean, this is dang sure true for most of us as it relates to the pandemic, because we look forward to getting our normal back. We don't want a new normal. We want our old normal back. But my guest today knows that feeling all too well. She recently returned from MD Anderson for treatment for breast cancer. She's also an inspiring entrepreneur. She has an incredibly important message for women that she's going to share today, but she also has an inspiring story of entrepreneurship, which it seems to be sort of the theme this week. After a great career as a court reporter, and with a growing love for yoga and helping others reach their personal goals, she decided at the age of 38 to change careers and become an entrepreneur and start her own business, the Yoga Barre in Gulfport. I want to welcome my friend Sandi Anderson to Coast Vue. How you doing, Sandi?
Hi, Ricky. Good morning.
And good morning.
Thank you for having me.
It is a special time of year, isn't it?
It is.
I saw you on Instagram sitting in front of your Christmas tree doing a message.
Yes.
I thought, again, everybody's in the Christmas spirit, but what does Christmas mean to you these days?
Oh, gosh, I'm just so thankful for Christmas, especially this year. It's been such a crazy year, for everybody, but just really counting my blessings even more so. It really makes you appreciate the normalcy, the little things, your family, just all of the beauty around us, just everything.
It's after Katrina, I wrote a book of lessons, and one of the lessons is that, before Katrina, maybe we didn't stop and smell the roses enough. And, one of the lessons is smell the roses, live in the moment. I mean,
Absolutely.
This moment that we're in at this moment is the one guarantee we have in life. Make the most of it.
Absolutely.
But when you go through what you just went through, it does give you a much more dramatic appreciation for that. So you have your own business. You've had to deal with the pandemic, and in the midst of all of that, you had to deal with facing cancer.
Right.
And then while you closed your business temporarily, I mean, you weren't back long from MD Anderson, and you had your business back up even with the pandemic going on.
Ready to go. We were ready to go.
But Stacy's quote about really appreciating normal. I mean, it's true. You really were focused on reestablishing your normal as fast as possible, weren't you?
Yes, I really was, because when you're diagnosed and you're undergoing treatment, your whole life changes. I mean, my entire life changed. There was no semblance of my routine whatsoever. And I desperately wanted to get back to normal, I just desperately did. And you just really miss that normal.
Yeah, I know you do. Hey, so this week I had some interesting conversations. I had Matthew McLaughlin, who's a entrepreneur specialist. He's a lawyer, and he does like startup law, helping people start their businesses or launch an idea. I also had Eric Hill, who's over the entrepreneur program at Mississippi State. And when I have these kind of conversations, it gives me a chance to reflect on this growing list of characteristics that I see in entrepreneurs. And you can go on the internet and search this, and there's just lists and lists and lists of characteristics that make great entrepreneurs. But one is passion. And it's a passion beyond an idea. It's a passion beyond actually just running a business. There's something there. There's a higher mission. That certainly fits in your case, doesn't it?
I think so. I absolutely love what I do. I love yoga. I love barre. I love the ladies. We have amazing clients, and I just love everything about it.
It's great to be able to help people, and you see this in everyone's lives that you have to deal with on a daily basis. Not have to deal with, you get the pleasure and honor of dealing with on a daily basis. That through practicing what you've learned to do so well, you're helping people improve their lives, and there's something cool about that, isn't there?
Oh, it's so cool. It really is. I love helping women get stronger, feel more confident about themselves. And you'll see them come into the studio and they're a little bit nervous, maybe haven't worked out in a while. And they might even be a little intimidated, and you just watch them grow and you watch their strength develop and their confidence. And it's just an amazing process to watch. And be a part of.
One of the other characteristics is determination, and we'll talk about that one briefly after we come back. But this is Sandi Anderson. She owns the Yoga Barre in Gulfport. She has a compelling story to tell about a recent experience that she had, and we'll get into that on this program today. But we'll be back after this break.
Broadcasting safe and sound from the coastal Mississippi studios, this is Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk 103.1. Coast Vue on SuperTalk 103.1 is brought to you by Allen Toyota on I-10 exit 38 Gulfport. See all of the incredible inventory at allentoyota.com. And remember, when you think Toyota, think Allen Toyota. Listen to Ole Miss football on SuperTalk 103.1.
What decisions are being made by state lawmakers, and how will they affect you, your family, and community? If you listen, you'll know. SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk app, and at supertalk.fl.
Hi, I'm Billy Kinder, host of Big Billy Kinder Outdoors here. The show Saturdays at 1, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi. Turkeys, whitetail, Grenada Lake crappie, or Gulfport redfish. We enjoy it all, especially when you're in camp with us on SuperTalk Mississippi.
You could be spreading the coronavirus without realizing you have it, so do your part and stay home. It's important to limit in-person interaction with anyone outside of your immediate household, but phone and video chat are safe ways to connect. It's also important to limit social gatherings. If you need essential items like food and medicine, try using a delivery service. If you must leave your house for essential items, or if you want to take a walk for exercise, make sure to wear a cloth face covering. Stay at least 6 feet away from other people. Try not to frequently touch surfaces like light signals, street signs, or benches. And wash your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds as often as possible. This advice applies to people of any age, including teens and younger adults. It takes all of us to slow the spread of the coronavirus, so stay home unless absolutely necessary. Visit coronavirus.gov for the latest information.
Thousands of Bulldog fans have subscribed to the Thunder and Lightning podcast. Have you? On each episode, Brian Haydad and Joel Coleman give you an inside look at your Mississippi State Bulldogs. The Thunder and Lightning podcast is free and available on demand at supertalk.fm and on your smartphone. Just search for Thunder and Lightning on iTunes, Google Play, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. Thunder and Lightning from SuperTalk Mississippi, covering the Bulldogs like no one else.
Hey, want to come work for the #1 radio group on the coast? TeleSouth Media has a great opportunity for an outside sales consultant. Get paid while having fun and work in the exciting, fast-paced world of radio. We have award-winning stations like 97.9 CPR Rocks, 105.9 The Monkey, G96.7, SuperTalk 103.1, and 103.5 The Possum. Take the first step towards a new and rewarding career. Submit your resume to Jesse at telesouth.com. That's JESSE at telesouth.com. TeleSouth Media is an equal employment opportunity employer.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast Vue. We're having a terrific visit this morning with Sandi Anderson. She owns the Yoga Barre in Gulfport. And she has just a really important message for women that we'll be getting into at some point. She just returned from MD Anderson and can now, be in the category of a cancer survivor. And we'll tell that story here shortly. But we're really talking about, what it's like to run a business these days and what it's like to be an entrepreneur. And she's inspiring on so many different levels. But one of the things I mentioned just before we went to break is that there's a determination in entrepreneurs, and it's a determination to accept and deal with obstacles. Boy, you know that so well this year, don't you?
Oh my goodness, yes. For sure.
So, dealing with the pandemic and then, of course, your own personal situation. Another quality, they have a sponge-like nature about themselves, always seeking to learn more. I mean, when you own your own business, every day is a day to learn something new, isn't it?
It sure is. Yeah. I mean, when you own your own business, you're it. From computers to sound equipment to teaching classes, just everything. You have to be prepared for literally everything. You have to be able to do everything.
As Eric pointed out yesterday, it's not easy. And so, the passion for what you do is what usually keeps them going. But let's kind of, I want to turn the clock back a bit. Where did you grow up?
Lexi. I'm a Coast girl.
Yeah. You told me one day a really funny story about your dad, that you played softball, you weren't really good at it, but he taught you to hang in there.
He did.
Tell me about it.
So my dad very much wanted me to be a tomboy, and that just was not me. I grew up dancing, doing gymnastics, cheering, just a real girly girl. And my dad, I'm an only child, so I guess he was just, trying to make me a tomboy. So he made me play softball. When I was 9 years old, made me play softball, and I absolutely hated it. I was terrified of the ball. I was so bad. And so he decided that he was going to teach me how to catch. So he brought me outside, and away he went, and boom, the ball hit me right in the nose, busted my nose. I fell out crying. My mom's running outside. It's just a mess. And I wanted to quit so bad, but he would not let me quit. And he made me finish out the season. And that was a lesson that I learned early on. You finish what you start. And I've taken that with me throughout my life. There are things that I've gotten myself into that I really didn't want to complete, but I knew I had to, because that's just what you do. And actually, today is my dad's birthday. He's 79 today, so I want to wish him happy birthday.
What a great story. It's interesting. I think all of us, when we reflect on our dads, there are these moments. I remember when we were working on a bicycle once, and I was just trying to get a bolt off, and I kind of got irritated, and he said, "Stop." He said, "If you get irritated taking a bolt off a bike, what are you going to do when you have to run a business one day?" So look, take a deep breath. This is not a big deal. Just let me teach you how to do this.
Exactly.
And but it's so interesting how those moments in your life you just never forget. It's just so important. So important, and we don't forget those people. Go ahead, say it again.
Yeah, I've never forgotten that lesson. I go back to that all the time.
Yeah, I mean, and he'll love hearing that story. So, How did you decide if you did a career as a court reporter? I mean, the last thing you expected to do is become sort of a yoga specialist, now a bar specialist. And to get into owning your own business, you were a court reporter. You had an entire career doing that. How did you get into that?
So, court reporting, I loved English and typing in school, just loved it. And so one day I think I just saw a court reporter on TV, and I was really intrigued by what she was doing on the machine. And, I'm like, is that typing? And so I researched it and found out that it's actually a stenograph machine, and it's a different language. Basically, so you're not typing like you would on a typewriter. And then I also learned that the court reporters were actually writing 225 words per minute. And that just blew me away because I was pretty good in typing and pretty fast. And, 225 words a minute, that's quite impressive. So I started researching it, and that's how I got into it. And it was an amazing career. It really was. It was interesting. And I was able to provide for myself and my daughter very well. But it was stressful.
Yeah.
It was stressful.
18 years. Do I remember that number right? 18 years.
18 years.
Wow. And so along the way, you started doing yoga.
Yes.
And the reason why is because you had some injuries, and that was your intention to begin with. But
Yeah.
Tell about that.
So I had some injuries, and I always worked out. I did boot camps. I played tennis. I ran. But I always seemed to be injured. And my husband even made the comment, he said, Sandi, you are the most fit, injured person that I know. And when he said that, it really hit home, and I realized, I got to do something different here. This isn't working. I'm not supposed to be injured all the time. And so I always heard, how wonderful yoga is for you. And I said, well, I've tried everything. I'm going to go ahead and try yoga. So off I went to a yoga class, and I loved it. I just really loved it. It was so calming, and it felt good. It felt good on my body. I wasn't jarring and pounding and lifting heavier things than I should. It was just amazing, and I just felt so calm and refreshed.
Well, I did yoga for a few years, and I have a herniated disc in my lower back, and got to where I couldn't do it very well. But it's a body, and this is true. That really, if you think about the concept of yoga and sort of marrying the mind with the body, and creating that consciousness, most physical fitness efforts are really about. There's a lot of mental to it, and yoga is very focused on that. Talk more about that.
Absolutely. So yes, it's so mental. You really have to tap in to focus and try to just push everything out of your mind for just that 1 hour. Just that 1 hour while you practice, and observe your breath, observe how you feel. There's so much mental that goes into exercising. So much. That's why people don't stick with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the way, yoga and let's, before we go any further, tell what barre is.
Barre. So barre, I love barre fitness. Many people think, ballet barre, stretching, that's the first impression that they have of barre when we say barre, but it's barre fitness. So it is quite a workout. No muscle is left untouched, really. And many of the ladies come in and they're a little intimidated because they've seen some of our Instagram stories and things, and they are just they feel so strong and empowered when they complete the class. They're like, I made it, and they're super, super sore. Every muscle in your body is sore. And it's really funny because I've had a couple of clients who have actually brought their husbands in. And their husbands, these two gentlemen that I'm thinking of, were both Marines. So they're tough guys, and they come into, their wives bring them into the studio to do barre, and they were just in a puddle of sweat. It was just nothing that they had ever done before. And they just couldn't believe how difficult it was, for them.
So yeah, it is a very challenging thing, and it's a great way to be very serious about your fitness and your mental well-being at the same time.
Absolutely.
So you
eventually, mind-body connection in barre as well. You definitely, it's small movements. So you really have to think about it and control your muscles and really focus.
So you eventually went to yoga teaching school, and we're going to talk about that when we come back from break. And you got really serious about it. That ultimately led to you actually opening your own business, and we'll talk about that. And then I want to hear about how did you discover you had breast cancer? And I want to tell that story and tell why it's so compelling, the message that you have for other women about that. So we'll be back after this break. This is Sandi Anderson from the Yoga Barre.
Broadcasting safe and sound from the coastal Mississippi studios, this is Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk 103.1. Coast Vue on SuperTalk 103.1 is brought to you by Allen Toyota on I-10 exit 38 Gulfport. See all of the incredible inventory at AllenToyota.com. And remember, when you think Toyota, think Allen Toyota. Listen to Ole Miss football on SuperTalk 103.1.
Be sure to go by this station's website and check out the half-off deals. Audubon Zoo tickets for just $15. That's half price. $30 zoo tickets for just $15. Again, go to this station's website or Facebook. Look for the half-off deals logo to purchase yours now.
Heart attacks and strokes don't stay home. So don't avoid the ER out of anxiety. Don't die of doubt. If you have an emergency, call 911. When seconds count, the hospital is the safest place to be.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. Talking to Paul Thorne, Mississippi true treasure, really incredible recording artist, singer, songwriter, has been doing it a long time, doing it the right way.
It's almost like a Forrest Gump thing because I was a boxer, / I worked in a furniture factory, / I had a gig 2 nights a week playing my acoustic guitar in a pizza restaurant, / I was in the National Guard, and all this stuff was going on at the same time, / I had a writing contract with Rick Hall and Fame.
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, the SuperTalk Mississippi app, and now available on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
There's a place to share gossip about the office party fun, and a place to share the story you tell everyone. There's a place to share a laugh about when things went wrong, and a place to share the video of you dancing to your song. There's a place to share spare change, lunch, and your time. But we could all be better at sharing how we're feeling inside. 76% of employees have struggled with at least one issue that affected their mental health. When you share, you're not alone.
Feeling down? Here's your prescription for a daily dose of good news and positive vibes. Good Things with Rebecca Turner. Every afternoon, Rebecca highlights all the good things happening right here in the state you call home. Daily exposure to Good Things with Rebecca Turner may cause smiling, feelings of positivity, happiness, and even laughter. When you experience these symptoms, tell your friends to listen. Okay. Weekdays starting at 2 p.m. here on SuperTalk Mississippi and now on Amazon Alexa devices.
This is House Call for Health. There may be no greater medical mystery and no greater tragedy than sudden infant death syndrome. It used to be known as crib death. For no apparent reason, a presumably healthy sleeping baby dies. Medical experts don't have clear-cut answers to what causes sudden infant death, or SIDS, but now they have 2 risk factors: smoking and drinking during pregnancy beyond the first 3 months. A new study finds that babies whose mothers drank alcohol and smoked tobacco after the first trimester are at far greater risk of SIDS, 12 times greater. Previous studies showed a risk of smoking and drinking individually. This study says doing both drastically increases the danger. The research is sponsored by the National Institutes of Health, which is calling for greater publicity about the danger and improved screening at the very beginning of a pregnancy. For more health news, go to foxnewshealth.com. House Call for Health. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News.
You could be spreading the coronavirus without realizing you have it, so do your part and stay home. It's important to limit in-person interaction with anyone outside of your immediate household, but phone and video chat are safe ways to connect. It's also important to limit social gatherings. If you need essential items like food and medicine, try using a delivery service. If you must leave your house for essential items, or if you want to take a walk for exercise, make sure to wear a cloth face covering. Stay at least 6 feet away from other people. Try not to touch frequently touched surfaces like light signals, street signs, or benches. And wash your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds as often as possible. This advice applies to people of any age, including teens and younger adults. It takes all of us to slow the spread of the coronavirus, so stay home unless absolutely necessary. Visit coronavirus.gov for the latest information.
Whether you're a Rebel, a Bulldog, a Golden Eagle, or just a sports fan, SuperTalk Mississippi has got a podcast for you. For you. Sports Talk Mississippi, the Rebel Report, Thunder and Lightning, the SuperTalk Eagle Hour, and the Borky Show are all now available for you. And it's all free. Get them all on demand at supertalk.fm and on your smartphone. Just search for SuperTalk on iTunes, Google Play, or anywhere you listen to podcasts. He's the former president and publisher of the Sun Herald, and now he's on the radio. Welcome to Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast Vue. We're not in the coastal Mississippi studio today. We're at my place up in the Mississippi Delta, which we do this time of year. It's just a great time of year to kind of take in this beautiful state that we live in. We're having just an inspiring conversation with Sandi Anderson. She is the owner of the Yoga Barre in Gulfport, and we talked a lot about yoga and how she got to where she is. She went to yoga training, and she ended up becoming an instructor, and she had so much success with that. She eventually said, I'm going to open my own business. How did you ultimately make that decision?
So it was actually my husband who encouraged me, because I was teaching out of my home, and then I found bar, and he drew the line at installing bars in our home. So he said, you really need to do this. You're passionate about it. You love it. And so he was super supportive, and off we went. So business is doing well. You've got this incredible building that you have off of Cowan Road, and then the pandemic comes along, and you're, oh my goodness, how are we going to deal with this? Yes.
And then you were sitting on your couch, and you found a lump. Tell about how you discovered that lump.
So this is really just by the grace of God is how I discovered it. Sitting at home one night during the pandemic, it was in March, we were shut down. Otherwise, I would have been at the studio teaching. And I'm sitting on the couch. My dog is sitting up on the back of the couch, and I had my arms stretched out. I was watching the news because my daughter was in New York, and I was really nervous. You know, it was the hot spot at the time. So I'm watching TV, and my arm is up, and my hair just grazed my underarm, and I just moved my hair with my hand, and I felt something odd, and I really wasn't sure what it was. It kind of felt like a tendon or a muscle. Did not hurt. I was in no pain whatsoever, and just really didn't know what it was. I was supposed to go for a mammogram, but everything was shut down because of COVID elective procedures. And it wasn't until, I'm going to say it was the end of April whenever I was able to get in to have a mammogram. And so I mentioned it to the mammogram technician. They always ask you if there are any changes. And I said, I feel a little something in my underarm. I'm not really sure what it is. And she said, well, let me take a look. And she felt it. And she said, I really don't know what that is either. I'll try to get over into your underarm area. And so anyway, she did the mammogram, and I get a letter that said that there were some changes in my axillary area, but they were more than likely benign, and to get in touch with my doctor. So I did. I had a visit with my doctor, and she said, well, let's just go ahead, and I don't think this is anything. Let's just go ahead and do an ultrasound, and we'll have peace of mind there. I said, okay, sure. So thought that was the best thing to do. Had the ultrasound. Again, I feel fine. Nothing hurts. Have the ultrasound. The doctor there doesn't really think it's anything. She said, you could do a biopsy if you'd like, or wait 6 months. Just really, they really didn't think it was anything. So I called my mom and told my mom, and she immediately, oh, absolutely not. You need to have a biopsy. And because I was just going to go on about my business and wait 6 months. Hey, I was busy. The studio was reopened, and I didn't have time for this, So anyway, I told my husband, and he, of course, biopsy, absolutely. Have the biopsy. Again, the doctor really didn't think it was anything. She thought, it was a lymph node doing its job, not to worry. So I left the biopsy, not worried at all. And the next day, my doctor called me, and she said, Sandi, I am so sorry, but your biopsy came back with cancer cells. And I was just absolutely floored. I mean, you could have knocked me over with a feather, because I was totally not expecting that.
Well, you mentioned to me that one of the things you quickly learned is that when you have a mammogram, and you always did those the way you're supposed to do them, that yours always came back with everything's fine, but there was a notation, and you would just file it away. You said everything's fine. You didn't read it anymore, and you just filed it away. But now that you've learned about what that notation meant, you have a message about that. Tell me about that.
I really do, yes. So all women know that you get your mammogram and it comes back normal, and you get a letter, and it says your mammogram results are normal. Please have a mammogram in another year. We get the letter, we file it away, and go about our business. So my message to women is we need to be proactive. We need to be proactive in our healthcare. What I wished that I had known at the time is that I needed to request my mammogram report so that I could read my mammogram and know if I had risk factors. I did have a risk factor for breast cancer that I had no idea that I had, and that is dense breast tissue. Had I known that, I would have been much quicker to get the ultrasound, the biopsy, and not just blow things off, like I was doing. But I didn't know that about my own body. And that's my message to women is we really need to be proactive. And all of us, men, women, all of us need to be proactive in our health care, because only we know how we feel. Yeah. And but that's my message.
So it's a message to women for sure, but we all also know that a small percentage, but still a percentage of men also are affected by breast cancer. So you can't, if you're a man listening to this, you can't just ignore this conversation that it doesn't affect you. It could affect you. So you have to be just as proactive. You do. Yeah.
And I will also say too, my mammogram did not pick up the tumor. It was not found on mammogram. I found a lump in my underarm. And that is where the story is just so amazing. And it was God's grace. It was God's hand, because no one feels around in their underarm while they're sitting on the couch. You know, I mean, it's just, there's no other explanation. And, you know, had I not found it in my underarm, I would have gone on for another year. And by that time, who knows? Because when mine was found, it was stage 2, and that's early. And I'm very fortunate. But, you know, I could have found it at stage 4.
Yeah. So you still had really important decisions to make about how you were going to proceed forward. So it was off to MD Anderson. Yes. And the treatment that was selected was what?
So I had to have chemotherapy. I had 4 rounds of chemotherapy at MD Anderson. And the reason that we chose for me to go out there was because of COVID. So you've got that you're dealing with. My husband's working. He has to be around people. You know, if I would have gotten COVID, then that would have meant my treatment would stop. And once you put your mind, you get your mind set and you're focused and you're going to get this chemotherapy done, you don't want to stop. You want to get through it as quickly as possible. Mm-hmm. And so as a family, we thought that that was the safest thing for me, and the best thing for me mentally also is to go out there and get it done. And I was so blessed to be able to have my daughter with me. You know, it's a huge blessing. Not everyone would have that opportunity. My daughter was able to complete her semester online, and she was out there with me the whole time, you know, because my husband couldn't do that. He couldn't leave work and be out there 24/7, but she was with me, and it was a great time with her.
You also chose a particular approach on the surgery. Tell me about that.
Yes, I did. So again, you know, as a family, we decided to go ahead and do a double mastectomy, and to be very aggressive with it. I wanted to do surgery one time, not have to go back if it were to come back. So I was very aggressive with that. And surgery.
Yeah, I know it is. Well, let's do this. We're at the end of this segment together, and we'll pick it up on the other side. But man, I tell you, I am so I can't tell you how appreciative I am for you being willing to share your story.
Absolutely.
It's really inspiring, and it's also educational. People need to listen that how important it is to be proactive with your health. I mean, it's just, good Lord. But we'll come back, and we're also going to talk about what you learned about how cherished normal is. We'll be back after this break.
Broadcasting safe and sound from the coastal Mississippi studios, this is Coast View with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk 103.1. Listen to Ole Miss football on SuperTalk 103.1.
SuperTalk. Nobody keeps Mississippi informed like we do. With 12 stations covering all 82 counties. If it happens in your state, we're on top of it. The news, the weather, the sports, and the talk that's important to you. The issues that matter to you, your family, and your bank account. It's all right here. And when you're away from home, depend on the SuperTalk app and supertalk.fm to stay in the know. We're proud to serve our fellow Mississippians. SuperTalk Mississippi.
We know that we're asking Americans to do a lot right now. So we're asking everyone to be selfless for others so that we can protect those who are most susceptible to this virus.
A question I often get asked is, why should young people care about the spread of coronavirus? Well, we know that people with underlying medical conditions over the age of 60 are at highest risk, but they've got to get it from somebody.
Social distancing is really physical separation of people.
It's what we refer to when we ask people to stay at least 6 feet apart.
Not going to bars, not going to restaurants, not going to theaters where there are a lot of people. It all just means physical separation so that you have a space between you and others who might actually be infected or infect you.
We all have a role to play in preventing person-to-person spread of this disease, which can be deadly for vulnerable groups. For more information on how you can social distance, please go to coronavirus.gov.
Hey, I'm Steve Azar, and you never know who or what you'll hear when I spend a Mississippi Minute with my friends. We are with the fabulous Norbert Putnam as he played on so many hit records, you can't count them, and produced for some of the biggest acts ever. Norbert, Elvis.
And I want to tell you about Presley. He had two different voices. He would sit and talk to me in a very calm, low voice. And we were at Stack's one night, and we were having lunch. We always had lunch at midnight because he was nocturnal. We sat there and we have our sandwiches, and at 1 o'clock, he looked up. He said, "Hey, Pot, come on, it's time for me to go be Elvis." And he stood up, and a much deeper voice, he put on his macho voice. "Hey, fellas, it's 1 o'clock. Let's get cracking, okay?"
In a Mississippi Minute. Be sure to check out In a Mississippi Minute with me, Steve Azar, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi, Amazon Alexa, and now on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher.
Anybody can be a firefighter. Male, female, younger, older.
We have school teachers. We have leaders in business.
It's me, you, anyone that wants to be.
There is no typical firefighter.
Everyone knows the only thing better than pizza is free pizza, and right now, buy a $10 gift certificate to CiCi's Pizza for only $5. It's like buying a pizza and getting a pizza for free. Go to our station's website or Facebook. Look for the Half Off Deals logo to purchase this amazing deal right now.
We give HPV vaccine to children at 11 or 12 years of age. I have 4 children, 2 boys and 2 girls, and I've given the vaccine to all of them.
Talking to the people that help make the coast such a unique place to live. This is Coast View with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk Mississippi Gulf Coast 103.1.
Welcome back to Coast View. We're having an inspiring and really important conversation with Sandi Anderson. She owns the Yoga Barre in Gulfport. But what we're learning from her today is more of a lesson in being proactive with your health. You know, we talked about being an entrepreneur and what that's all about, and that's really important, and people should listen to that as well. But the really, I think, important message that we're getting from Sandi today is about how she faced her breast cancer diagnosis, how she treated it aggressively, the multiple rounds of chemo, having to do that at MD Anderson in the midst of the pandemic, the kind of decisions you had to make. And you talked about how, you know, we should that women and men, for that matter, should be much more aware of their reports that they get for these like routine, checkups that you get, like in your case, a mammogram showed dense breast tissue. And it's something that if you'd have understood what that meant, you'd have been a lot more aware and a lot more aggressive about how you paid attention to it. But to the grace of God, you pushed your hair out of the way, you felt something that didn't feel normal, and the rest is kind of history. But what's your prognosis today? What are the doctors saying to you?
So I have a great prognosis from my doctors. My surgeon really did surgeons, actually. I had 2 surgeons. They did a great job and really feel like they, got everything because it was so early. But my oncologists really wanted me to complete some chemo. Just as a preventative is what they like to say. We feel like it's all gone, but there could be a little microscopic cancer cell. So we just want to just shower the body with chemo for 4 rounds. But I have a good prognosis because it was caught early.
Well, I'm thrilled to hear that. I'm really especially thrilled that you're willing to tell your story so people can listen carefully and choose to be a little bit more aggressive with their own sort of taking care of themselves and their own health. But when I read this note, I actually read this to Sandi before we started the show, this note from Stacy. And then, of course, I read it at the beginning of the show. But if you missed the first part of the show, it was a really incredible note that Stacy Waldrop, a friend of mine, she's also a cancer survivor, had posted on social media. And it said this: only when normal things are not normal anymore do we realize how special normal things are. That has a special meaning to you, doesn't it?
It really does. When, I was at MD Anderson, away from my home, away from my husband, away from my business was closed, away from all of the ladies at the Yoga Barre. That's not normal. That is not normal. And it feels really weird. And I just would I would just look at the calendar and just check those days off that I was away. And I just focused on coming back and the good and the normalcy. And I just look at I look at my life differently. I'm so blessed. I'm just truly so blessed. And, it's unfortunate sometimes that it takes a health crisis to get your attention.
Yeah. I understand. So tell me, what is the date that you returned? When did you return from MD Anderson?
The 24th of October.
And you reopened the Yoga Barre when?
November the 7th.
Okay. Do you understand those how close those dates are? And then I go back and think about the one. I mean, there are so many great characteristics of wonderful entrepreneurs, but one is the determination and to accept and deal with the obstacles. But I'm just blown away with how quickly you reopened Yoga Barre. That was really important to you, wasn't it?
It was so important to me. And, when that was probably the most painful thing of leaving is I had to shut my business down. And it was just devastating to me because it meant so much to me. And I had worked so hard to build the studio, and we had created such a wonderful community and place for ladies to get together. And it was just heartbreaking to have to shut it down, But I have some amazing teachers that work for me. And they were like, look, just go. Do this, come back, we're here, we're ready when you are. So I had a great support system.
When I was, that first one that I read early on about passion, that entrepreneurs are driven by something that's more than just running a business. I remember my time as publisher. I really enjoyed being a publisher of a newspaper, and it is because it was always a mission over and above running the business. And it's inspiring to see you, through your own actions, also inspire others with your passion for wanting to make a difference in other people's lives. And the fact that you came back from MD Anderson and got your business back open, man, I'm telling you, it's so inspiring. Hey, listen, Sandi, we're out of time, but it has been an absolute honor to have this opportunity to chat with you. I really appreciate you telling your story. And I'm going to have you back, and we're just going to talk about women's issues and what you learned from them and how you can help people. We'll definitely do that again. But anyway, God bless you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ricky. Thank you for having me. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, you bet. Merry Christmas to you, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Broadcasting safe and sound from the coastal Mississippi studios, this is Coast Vue with Ricky Mathews on SuperTalk 103.1.